Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we have something really interesting for all the myth lovers out there. Each country has its own folklore when it comes to mythical creatures. The Philippines is no different, and it is home to many myths and legends about monsters. These tales have been passed down from one generation to another, and the belief in these still remains today. These tales have become a part of life and culture in the Philippines. In today's video, we are going to explore one such creature, so sit back and enjoy as we delve into the myth of the Manananggal, a terrifying Aswang in Filipino folklore. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origins of the Manananggal myth. The legend of the Manananggal is something that is deeply rooted in the culture of the Philippines. The tale, which has been passed down for centuries through oral traditions, is said to have originated due to a combination of fear and superstition that exists in the community. It reflects the anxieties of the people at a time when there was a belief that supernatural entities roamed the earth. The Manananggal is a vampire-like creature. According to legends, she is described as a beautiful woman by day, but transforms into an evil creature at night. This creature is known for her ability to detach her upper torso from her lower half. In fact, this ability is how the creature gets its name. The name itself comes from a Tagalog word, tanggal, which translates to remove or separate. The way the Manananggal is described is often scary and hideous. She can sprout bat-like wings that are huge, and she flies around at night looking for victims. When her upper torso lifts off from the ground, her intestines trail behind her as she flies. Her victims are mostly sleeping pregnant women, newlyweds, couples, or even newborns sometimes. Grooms-to-be are also her common victims in some legends because she was left at the altar. The creature sucks their blood at night using her elongated tongue. In the case of pregnant women, the fetuses are sucked out. Not only this, she also seems to have an affinity for disrupting the traditional structures of family reproduction by making men impotent, making women have miscarriages, and luring men into committing adultery. There are multiple stories about this creature, and all of them are not alike. The stories are most often linked with the province of Capiz. These tales have roots that date back centuries before the Philippines was even colonized. In some stories, it is believed that there is a black chick living inside her, eating the innards while keeping its host alive. This is the reason the creature has a craving for blood and flesh. In some tales, the creature is said to be accompanied by a tik-tik bird, whose calls both assist her and confuse her victims, because the fainter the call, the closer she is. These creatures are said to be a subspecies of Aswangs, and similar creatures exist throughout Southeast Asia. Aswang is a term that is used for evil spirits. While looking at Aswang folklore, scholars discuss how women used to hold important roles in pre-colonial Philippines, like shamans, healers, and priestesses. They also had some kind of sexual freedom. There are theories that point to Spanish influence having something to do with these tales, that they were trying to disenfranchise powerful Filipino women. These politics of gender had very deep roots in the conquest of the Philippines. The tale of the Manananggal could have been developed by Spanish religious leaders, trying to undermine their authority. The creature having wings could also have something to do with fitting the Christian imagery of the devil. There are some theories that discuss how initially, the Manananggal was a creature that was described as having the ability to split its head from the rest of its body. But the stories we know now shows the creature detaching its upper half. Some scholars believe that changing this detail has to do with separating women from their reproductive organs. What this then does is symbolically take away the sexual freedom of women. Colonizers basically slandered women in power, like priestesses, to take power away from them and impose Christianity. By calling women witches or Aswangs, they instilled a sense of fear in the community. Powers of the Manananggal and how to defeat them. As we have already seen, the Manananggal takes the form of a beautiful woman with the ability to detach from her lower body and fly with bat-like wings. With her long tongue, she sucks out the blood of her victims, and in the case of pregnant women, their fetuses. These creatures are capable of shape-shifting. They are normal women in the morning, sometimes even a witch or sorceress, and they turn into hideous beasts at night. Some tales also have another element involved in the transformation. They tend to include details of the creature applying oil all over its body before separating, and it is almost like a ritual. This kind of adds a ceremonial detail to the transformation. It is almost as if doing this is giving the creature some kind of power or protection. When they are in their beastly form, sunlight is something that is harmful to them. So if the two halves of a Manananggal's body are still separated by dawn, the creature will be destroyed. To destroy this creature, one must look for the lower half of her body. This part that she leaves vulnerable when she goes behind her victims is her weakness. When things like garlic, ash, or salt are spread over her lower half, it keeps her from rejoining her body. Failing to do so before sunrise would eventually kill the creature. According to legends, you can use things like ash, salt, or raw rice. The creatures also tend to avoid things like spices and vinegar. There is another weirdly specific thing that you can use against them. It is the tail of a stingray, and it can be used against them after it has been made into a whip. I do not think I have ever come across this thing as a line of defense against the supernatural. So guys, if you believe in these legends and want to keep this creature away, be sure to carry these things with you. There are also some legends that talk about how a person can become a Manananggal. To do this, they have to follow a few rituals. The other way is to consume a black chick. Apparently, having the black chick live in their stomach helps in the transformation. This is what gives them the power to separate from the lower half of their body and terrorize humans. It is hard to believe that someone would actually want to go through this process voluntarily. It is not like having a chick inside you. While it is eating away your insides is something that people would actually enjoy, it is also believed that the powers of this creature can be passed on to other people through rituals. Cultural symbolism, an explanation of the myth. When it comes to the Manananggal myth, the fear of the unknown plays a huge factor. This creature basically represents the fear of things that cannot be fully comprehended or even controlled. For that matter, there is a deeply rooted fear in all of us about the unknown, and these legends play into those fears. The creature is something that remains as a reminder of all the anxieties of the Filipino people. It is deeply ingrained in their culture. The creature has a preference for newborns and pregnant women. This reflects the cultural anxieties that are linked to issues like infant mortality, childbirth, and pregnancy. These are times when people are vulnerable. That is how pre-colonial communities looked at these stages. So the creature also kind of highlights the dangers that mothers and children could be in. It serves as a tale of caution for people. It points out how creatures like these prey on the weak, especially during the night when they are sleeping and defenseless. Before the Spanish colonization, the Philippines were a group of people who believed in animism. This was the idea that all kinds of inanimate and animate objects have a soul. The Babaylan were looked at as shamans, and they were a group of women and transgender women. These people were leaders, and they were regarded as healers. This was something shocking for the Spanish priests. To them, women leading or holding positions of authority was something that was unheard of. They were trying to shift the people from believing in animism to Catholicism. And there are theories that one way which made the shift possible was by demonizing the Babaylan, which eventually became what we know as the Manananggal today. Some scholars believe that the myth serves as a symbol of a common fear that many cultures tend to have, something the Spanish also did, the fear of an independent woman and their sexuality. They interpret these creatures as women who are stepping out of their traditional gender roles. Those who transgress, the creature gains power through the transformation. But the myth also highlights how this is achieved at the cost of becoming a feared monster. The Manananggal is also looked at as a reflection of a patriarchal, conservative society's fears about the sexuality of women. The fact that the creature can transform and fly away into the night, only to attack people, can be seen as a warning for women who go against the norms that have been set by society. These myths seem to have the trope of an uncontained body. The fact that the creature can separate itself and change itself into something else entirely brings in ideas of subversion, freedom, and even liberation, for that matter. The creature basically defines all the boundaries that the human body has, and it disrupts the norms and boundaries of society. The creature's behavior challenges the cultural concepts by breaking away from the confines of its human body. It acts as a metaphor for pushing and breaking away from social restrictions. There are also many similarities between the Manananggal and other folklore about vampires. In Philippines itself, the Tagalog Mandirg is a variety of the Aswang. They resemble a vampire and are young, beautiful women in the day, and they turn into creatures with wings and sharp tongues by night, just like the Manananggal. These creatures use their sharp tongues to cut open a man's neck or prick his mouth while kissing to get blood. They also sometimes marry these men so they can prey on them. There are also myths from Africa that deal with creatures like the Adzi. They have the ability to change into insects and fly. The theme of blood-sucking and hunting at night is also something that is very commonly associated with all kinds of vampire lore. The Manananggal myth in contemporary culture. The legend of the Manananggal is not something that exists just in folklore. These tales have been adapted into different aspects of Filipino society and have influenced different mediums from literature, cinema, art, and television. Every retelling keeps this story alive. They still continue to exist in superstitions too. For Pinay and Filipino American poets, the Manananggal is something that represents a woman who has been erased, demonized, and silenced. These poets use the creature in their own ways, shaping it according to their intentions and recreating the myth. Poet Rachel Cruz describes her version of it as a soul that is lost and trying to find its way to a new land. Barbara Reyes describes her version as someone who is wrongly perceived and angry. In an interview, Cruz once said that she was interested in using the figure of the Aswang to explore the idea of gender expectations. It is not just about depicting horror when it comes to these writers. It is about taking back that power when it comes to some literature. And there is no way in which she is used. These poets use her as a way to understand themselves and their histories. They embody and become her. When it comes to films, the Manananggal is used a lot, especially in horror. The first ever Filipino horror movie was titled Manananggal. It was a silent movie that portrayed the creature as we know it from folklore. Other films like The Pad, Darna, The Pad, depicted as a teacher who is secretly a Manananggal. In Pagspit, Ndalim, a mother tricks her daughter into becoming one. There is no set template that exists with this character, and it has been incorporated into horror films in many different ways. There is a graphic novel series called Banzai Girl, which has a main character fighting many different monsters, including the Manananggal. The first horror game from the Philippines, Nightfall Escape, is a survival horror game that has the creature as its main antagonist. Interestingly enough, there is also an erotic novel about Melania Trump, which has something to do with this creature. The novel is titled Melania, Devourer of Men, and she is portrayed as a Manananggal who has to keep that a secret after Trump becomes president. This book has also been discussed in a lot of podcasts in the US. Even Marvel has used this character in an episode of their Marvel anime, Blade. Here, Blade encounters a kind of mutated version of this creature and its victims when he is on an island in the Philippines. Grimm is another popular American show that has an Aswang. Here, in an episode in Season 3, there is an Aswang attacking a pregnant woman. It is later revealed to us that the person attacking is her mother-in-law. It turns out that she is married into a family of Aswangs, and the mother-in-law wants to eat her child because she would die otherwise. Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, guys, we have come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Even though the Manananggal is a creature from the folklore of the Philippines, it is a creature that has invaded popular cinema and media alike. These stories have been adapted into cinema and continue to remain popular today, while making us think of why exactly we have created such creatures. What about this lore did you find most interesting? All cultures have lores that depict women as monsters like the Manananggal. Have you come across any in your own culture? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Thank you for watching.